When I was 8, I told my teacher I wanted to be an assassin when I grew up. While other kids said firefighter or doctor, I was thinking about the Zoldyck family from Hunter x Hunter. Looking back, this probably explains a lot about how I've always processed reality. A little sideways, a little strange.
You have an entire way of thinking that is completely foreign to everyone that I know.
Which might be why I was so comfortable when my mother would tell me stories about how 9/11 wasn't what it seemed, or how the CIA killed JFK. Mind you, I grew up in Hong Kong, so those things felt like distant stories to a kid. I remember spending late nights with my mother in our dim living room, watching TV shows about conspiracy theories. I'd see clips of what was basically a Hong Kong version of Alex Jones.
That's destiny, that's will, that's striving, that's being a trailblazer, an explorer, going into space, mathematics, quantum mechanics, the secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty, its incredible detail. Tuning into it, they want to shatter your mind, talking about Justin Bieber!
Speaking with fervent passion about JFK's assassination, about how Harvey Lee Oswald didn't act alone. Some of my fondest childhood memories came from those late-night conspiracy binges with my mom. I became obsessed with pyramids and aliens, spending countless hours in bookstores, eyes glued to those mysterious books. Here's how deep I was into it. When I was 12, I actually counted down to the end of the world in 2012 with my best friend in a bookstore, because that's supposedly when the Mayan calendar ended. Having been exposed to these ideas as a kid, it was fascinating to think the world had secret layers waiting to be uncovered. I remember the specific feeling of watching those shows, the way the host would lean into the camera, voice dropping to a whisper when revealing some government secret. The dramatic music, the grainy black and white photos of alleged UFOs. My mom would pause to explain things, her eyes lighting up with the thrill of shared knowledge. "Look, son," she'd say, "they don't want you to know this." It wasn't paranoia, it was invitation. An invitation to look closer, to question what everyone else accepted without thought. Fast forward to now, those late-night conspiracy conversations have gone mainstream. There's been a shift in the zeitgeist. Conspiracy theories are everywhere, as entertainment. Want several hours of long-form discussions of possible advanced civilizations before the Younger Dryas impact 12,900 years ago? Joe Rogan's got you covered.
It's entirely possible.
The point is, conspiracy theories are no longer fringe. It's not taboo to say Epstein didn't kill himself. Since the dawn of the internet, we're bombarded with information constantly, and everyone has opinions about everything. What once lived in shadowy corners now fills the culture.
Cells.
Interlinked.
Interlinked.
What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do they teach you how to feel finger to finger? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do you long for having your heart interlinked? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do you dream about being interlinked?
I'm not here to debunk anything. I'm not interested in proving conspiracies, right or wrong. The real question I want to know is, why do people need these stories? What led them to believe in lizard men living underneath the New York sewage system, or that we live on a flat earth? Conspiracy theories aren't really about facts. They're about stories. Every great conspiracy follows the same mythological structure: heroes, villains, hidden knowledge. Take the JFK assassination, the lone gunman versus the shadowy cabal controlling history, or the moon landing, human achievement versus elaborate Hollywood deception. These aren't competing truth claims, they're competing narratives about how reality actually works. So what deeper psychological need do they fulfill? Conspiracies make the world feel alive, with secrets waiting to be uncovered. They let people believe that events aren't random, that someone is pulling the strings behind the scenes. This grants meaning to the loss of agency so many feel today. It makes them part of the enlightened few who see through the lies of governments and corporations. You can compare this structure to traditional religion, sacred texts, prophets, chosen people, apocalypse narratives. When churches empty, conspiracy forums fill up. Think about it. Flat Earth believers have created their own cosmology, complete with sacred geography and creation myths. They have their prophets, charismatic figures revealing hidden truths about our realm. They have their holy texts, historical experiments, and Bible verses about the four corners of the earth. They even have their pilgrimage sites, conferences where believers gather to share testimony and reinforce their faith. The structure is identical to any religious movement, just with different symbols. Instead of communion, they share memes about perspective and horizons. Instead of prayer circles, they have comment sections. The psychological needs are exactly the same. Meaning, community, the feeling that you're part of something larger than yourself, or in this case, that you're living on something more special than a spinning ball hurtling through empty space. German sociologist named Max Weber predicted this over a century ago. He called it disenchantment, the process by which science strips the world of mystery, magic, and spiritual authority. Thunder isn't Thor, it's atmospheric pressure. Disease isn't divine punishment, it's bacteria. The stars aren't gods, they're nuclear fusion reactors thousands of light years away. Weber saw this as progress, but also as profound loss. We gained predictability and control, but lost wonder and transcendence. Here's the crucial part. Weber warned that while science can clarify facts, it cannot answer ultimate moral or existential questions. It leaves a void that neither science nor a return to old religious beliefs can fully fill. Imagine what it was like before Weber's disenchantment took hold. Every forest had spirits, every illness had meaning. The stars weren't distant balls of gas, they were the eyes of gods, watching over human affairs. Lightning wasn't atmospheric discharge, it was divine judgment. Nothing was random. Everything connected to everything else in a vast web of significance. That world was terrifying sometimes, but it was never boring. It was never meaningless. Science traded that rich, terrifying meaningfulness for safety and predictability. But some part of us still longs for that enchanted world. That void has to be filled with something. For some people, it's conspiracy theories. They add the magic back to a world that science made mechanical and cold. Reality becomes an onion. We peel back layers to reveal hidden truths beneath. I mean, wouldn't the world feel more mysterious, more alive, if Stanley Kubrick really did film the moon landing? Even if it's not true, it's more interesting than the official story. There's a study where researchers had people flip coins and record the results. Subjects who thought they saw patterns in completely random coin flips were more likely to believe in major conspiracy theories. Actually, it wasn't just one study, it was 5 separate experiments, all pointing to the same conclusion. Conspiracy believers have faulty pattern recognition. They see connections that aren't there. It's all just confirmation bias and illusory thinking. But here's what bothers me about that study. It assumes we know what random actually means.
78? That's so random! Or is it? What does it mean to be random?
Carl Jung, one of the big 3 of psychology, once wrote something that challenges this entire framework. In Jung's foreword to the Richard Wilhelm's translation of the I Ching, he argued that our science is built on the idea that everything follows predictable laws, but modern physics shows us that even our natural laws are really just statistical averages that allow for exceptions. In a controlled laboratory, we can make things behave predictably, but leave things to nature, and you see something different. Chance interferes with everything. Maybe what we dismiss as coincidence deserves more attention than what we worship as pure causality. Jung called this synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that can't be explained by cause and effect, like when you think of someone and they call, or when you need an answer and the perfect book falls off the shelf in front of you. Science says these are just statistical flukes, confirmation bias, selective memory. But Jung wondered, what if they're not? What if consciousness and reality are connected in ways our materialist worldview can't accommodate? I'm not saying every coincidence is meaningful. I'm not saying the universe is personally invested in your problems, but I am saying that our obsession with explaining everything through pure mechanism might be missing something important about the nature of reality. Maybe consciousness isn't just an accident of brain chemistry. Maybe attention itself shapes what we experience. Maybe the world really does respond to how we look at it. I think about my mom again. She saw patterns in world events that most people missed or dismissed. She had an insanely curious mind, open to different interpretations of the world. The study would say she was seeing false patterns. But was she? I've always been a pattern seeker too. The question isn't whether patterns exist, it's whether we're brave enough to pay attention to the ones that don't fit our worldview. And here's where it gets really interesting in our current moment. Social media algorithms are basically pattern matching machines, feeding us information that confirms what we already believe. They're creating echo chambers where any worldview, no matter how fringe, can seem totally reasonable. The flat earthers find each other. The lizard people believers build communities. The algorithm doesn't care about truth, it cares about engagement. But maybe that's not entirely bad. Maybe these communities are serving a function that our disenchanted world forgot to provide. A sense that reality is mysterious, that there are hidden connections, that your individual perception matters. Sure, some of these communities go too far, some become dangerous, but at their core, they're responding to something real, the human need for mystery, for agency, for meaning that goes deeper than pleasure, paycheck, and consumption. I can't put my finger on it, but I believe there's more to the world than what meets the eye. And I think there's something wrong with you if you believe 100% in whatever the official narrative says. This isn't really a video about conspiracy theories. It's an exercise in intellectual humility. Complete faith in official narratives might be stranger than questioning them. Perhaps the real danger isn't people believing in conspiracy theories. Maybe the danger lies with people who blindly accept every official narrative. That person lives in a world where everything is exactly as it appears, where there are no mysteries, no hidden depths, no questions left to ask. A world where we're just minds trapped in flesh, keeping the machinery of modern life running. A world devoid of wonder. We need stories that make reality feel alive, not mechanically dead. Not blind acceptance of every conspiracy theory. Not blind acceptance of every official narrative from the Warren Commission or the CDC either. Be skeptical toward power, question authority, but don't lose your sense of mystery and wonder. Don't lose the feeling that the world contains more than you can see. As Shakespeare wrote, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Are you paying attention?